Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join this NAASF webinar for Subway franchisees regarding increasing beverage sales and profits presented by the team at Coca-Cola. We've got Barry Clements and Carol Garman with us today, and they'll talk to you in just a moment. This webinar is part of a series of webinars that NAASF offers to the franchisee community to provide insight and advice to you as a business owner and entrepreneur. Just a couple of housekeeping items, just really briefly. You'll be muted for now unless you have a question, just to keep background noise to a minimum. We ask that you type any questions into the question box on your screen, or you could click the hand icon that you should see on your screen to raise your hand, and we'll try and unmute you really quickly, and you can ask a question that way. Just helps to keep, as I said, the background noise to a minimum so we can all hear each other. Also, this webinar is being recorded and posted to naasf.org next week. We'll post the audio and the slide deck, so you can download that as you need to. And with that, I will turn things over to today's presenters from Coke. We've got Barry Clements and Carol Garman.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. This is Barry Clements. So in the room with me today is Carol Garman. We also have Jerry Tryon in here with us as well. And first, I just want to say thank you to Ilya and to Dave Tennyson and to the franchisees for really letting us come on today and do the webinar and conducting it with you guys. As your beverage partner, we are certainly excited to work with you in growing sales and profits and working with each one of you every day and on the webinar as well. So when you think about Subway, it's a really, really powerful brand, right? And there's a lot of great activation. There's a lot of great stuff that's going on within Subway, from FWH to FAF to IPC to NAASF to the regional boards all around the system. All of that really works well together for us. But one of the things we want to talk about today and what we're really going to focus on is what can you do within the four walls of your store to grow sales and profits, and how can we help you do that? So with mainly a focus on beverage quality today, that's some of the topics that we'll begin to discuss. So when you look at the headlines and the buckets for our discussion today, you'll see, why is beverage quality important? What does it mean to you? Beverage incidents, and how does it impact sales and profits in each of the stores? Subway's beverage quality opportunity. What can you do to improve beverage quality into your stores? Preventive maintenance and reducing service costs, tools and resources we have to offer, aging equipment impact on beverage quality, and last but not least, a checklist of some of the most important things that you can do immediately inside the four walls of your store to grow sales and profits.
Barry, can I just interrupt you for one quick sec? This is Ilya.
Sure.
I've got somebody with a hand raised, so I just wanted to unmute Misty for one quick sec. Misty, can you, yeah, go ahead.
Me?
I saw that you had a hand raised on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was prompting me to hit it, so I hit it. I'm so sorry.
Not at all. Not at all.
That's all right, Misty. We thought it was so exciting you wanted to talk to us early on. Thanks.
Sorry,
okay,
Barry. Go ahead.
That's all right. So I'll continue on. So when you think about the Coca-Cola Company and our brands, how do we connect with Subway? How do we connect with the Subway consumer? So what you're looking at on the screen is really a pyramid or a ladder, if you will, of how we do that. And first we start with the customer experience. We want to make sure that it is the optimal experience when they come into your restaurant. And we do that through research, through knowledge and insights. Then we move up to product. You know, what categories, what brands best fit with the Subway concept, what best fit for your consumer. And then we move into quality. Just as with you guys inside the restaurant and day-to-day operations, beverage quality is just as important as food quality is to you guys as well. So making sure that we're serving a quality beverage on every occasion. And then package, making sure that we have the right drinkware in there, the bottles, the cans, the optimal cup set. Then we move into presentation. How does that look as far as messaging, merchandising, pricing? How do we message around fresh value meals? How do we pair beverages with food occasions? And then finally, we top that off with programs and promotions. And those are two buckets there, one around consumers and one around crew, and making sure that we're speaking to both sets. So, did you guys know in the past 24 hours that 2.2 million customers in the U.S. have purchased a drink at Subway? So this is amazing to us. I mean, this just is mind-boggling. Every time I see this number, you think about 2.2 million people. That's a lot of people in Subway, and a lot of people with a drink. What we're just as excited about is the 2.4 million that have not, because for the Subway system, for the franchisee, and for the Coca-Cola Company, it all represents opportunity. So what we have learned through insights and through studies is that 95% of consumers that have purchased a sub at Subway have purchased a drink. However, 48% of those folks did not purchase it at Subway, 47% did purchase at Subway, and only 5% did not drink a beverage at all. So what does that mean to the franchisee? What does that mean to the system? The Subway beverage incident, as I said, was right around 47%. The QSR national average is right around 71%. So the gap in between represents the opportunity, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that affects revenue and how does that affect profits. From a revenue standpoint, 1 percentage point of incidence equals $1,049. If you were able to raise that by 10 points, you would be up to $10,490 for the year on revenue impact, which equals a $251 million impact for the franchisees. On gross profit, 1 percentage incident point is $854. If you were to increase it 10 points, the increase would be $8,540, or over $200 million for the system annually. So the page you're looking at now is just a calculation as to how to get those numbers. On a weekly basis, the average Subway nationally sells 1,484 drinks. 1 percentage point of drink incidence would be 14.84 drinks. Your reported drink revenue per share for the system is $1.36. So 1 point of drink incident in AUV is $1,049. What we do know is that the blended food cost for beverages for Coca-Cola items is at 18.7, which calculates down to the $854 per point. So again, when you look at this, it's pretty impactful, as there's a lot of opportunity out there into the stores and out there in the systems, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can work with you guys to close that gap. This really just speaks to the 5 incident points. If you're able to raise the 5 incident points to $4,269, it's a nice graphic depiction of if you stay status quo and you do nothing at all, there's no incremental profits. If it's 1%, it's $854, all the way up to 5 points, which is over $4,200 a year. So all this, again, amazing opportunities for you guys inside the store. So there are a couple of things that really do impact beverage incidents, and the 2 big things, one is suggestive cell and crew, and the other piece, which we're going to talk about today, is beverage quality, and that's what Carol Gorman is going to take you through.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk about beverage quality and the importance that beverage quality is to ensuring that you're consistently delivering a quality beverage to your consumers. Our consumers are constantly evaluating the quality and value of fountain beverages when they're in the restaurant against other beverage alternatives, which could be tap water or buying no beverage at all. And it's really important that when they compare fountain quality, they're typically comparing it to the consistent quality that they always receive with a bottle or canned beverage. But too often they're disappointed with the fountain beverages that they're purchasing in QSR concepts. We've done a lot of analysis and research with the Coca-Cola Company, and we've determined that about 25% of consumers who purchase a fountain beverage inside of a QSR restaurant are typically disappointed with the quality of that beverage. And their perception of the beverage quality will typically tie to the overall perception of that QSR restaurant. They're going to, seek alternative beverages, and as QSR concepts are trying to seek solutions to slowing traffic, slowing sales, a focus on beverages is one area of opportunity where you can increase Subway franchisee beverage sales and profits. Because quality is so important to Coca-Cola, we have a process in place for Subway where we are annually going out and performing quality audits in Subway restaurants randomly that allows us to really take the pulse or the blood pressure of how Subway restaurants, the quality in Subway restaurants is performing. We measure quality by various beverage attributes. We look at ratio, temperature, carbonation, taste, and age, and it allows us to calculate a score that tells us the probability that a Subway restaurant is going to sell a quality beverage to their consumer. Historically, Subway has been in the 40 to 50% range, and what that says is less than half the time that you sell a beverage to your customer, it's typically not a quality beverage. And because of that, we've been doing a lot of work around quality beverage training with field consultants, owners and managers to teach them ways that they can improve quality inside the four walls. But unfortunately, we've only been able to move the needle a little bit. The chart that you see up here actually shows historically since 2005, since we've been doing these audits, Subway has typically been at the bottom or lower than other top QSRs that they compete against. I believe with a lot of the quality training that we did, we were able to move the needle a little bit to 51.8 this past year, but we still have a lot of work to go. And this really conflicts with Subway's desire to be the #1 QSR, growing market share 4 to 6%. And the next slide really depicts the opportunity. And these are actual pictures that I have taken when I'm in the market of equipment sanitation opportunities, preventive maintenance opportunities that really impact the consumer. The consumer does notice when the equipment's dirty, and the first thing they're going to think about is, what does the rest of the restaurant look like? So store-level execution is probably the biggest opportunity that we have today, and we really need to focus on ensuring that we're doing all the right things, all the preventive maintenance activities to make sure that your customer comes back and doesn't decide to visit another restaurant because of the condition of the equipment. So what we recommend is implementing a beverage ambassador to really focus on beverages in your restaurant, similar to focusing on Subway sandwiches, because the beverage plus the meal is part of the optimal customer experience. The beverage ambassador should really be responsible for checking the beverages every day, and there are several things that we recommend that the beverage ambassador does. The first thing would be to taste the beverages first thing every morning. They need to be their first soft drink customer every day. And they want to check for things like, are the beverages cold? Do they have the right amount of syrup? And if the answer is no, they need to try to correct the problem at that point before you start serving beverages, because if your customer gets a bad beverage, they're ultimately going to pour it down the drain, and that presents waste for you, the franchisee. They also want to make sure that they're checking out the carbonation levels. Do you have the right amount of bite or sparkle to the beverage? And things that are going to impact carbonation are CO2 pressures. So you want to make sure that the CO2 pressures are reading correctly on the regulators that you see here at the top of the page. You want to check the carbonator. Is the carbonator plugged in? Is it cycling? That's what produces your carbonated water. And you also want to make sure that you've got plenty of CO2 gas to get you through your peak periods of the day and that you don't run out. Those are all easy checks that the beverage ambassador can do. The third check is around checking the temperature. And your drink temperature without ice should be less than 40 degrees. If it exceeds 40 degrees, then the drink is going to be flat. So again, things that can impact drink temperature would be not having enough ice on your cold plate, or clogged ice bin drains that can cause standing water to back up into the ice bin and causing the ice not to come into contact with the actual cold plate. And that's typically from a lack of cleaning the ice bin in the restaurant. A lot of clogged drain issues. That's probably one of the top service calls in Subway today. The fourth thing is around ensuring that your bag-in-box and bottles are fresh. Coca-Cola products have a recommended 75 to 120-day shelf life, and you should be receiving your products with a minimum of 30 days left on the shelf life. You want to make sure that you're using a good first-in, first-out inventory method by using the enjoy by date to maximize your inventory and provide your customers with the freshest Coca-Cola products. And then lastly, and probably the most important thing, is to make sure that the beverage center is cleaned every day. Again, customers do notice. You want to make sure that the fountain nozzles, diffusers, the lower valve body, which is where the nozzle and diffuser attached to, is washed and sanitized on a daily basis. You also want to make sure that your fuse faucets are being taken apart, cleaned and sanitized, along with the urns based on the recommended frequency. When it comes to preventive maintenance, this is one thing that the beverage ambassador can do to ensure that you're minimizing service expense in the restaurant. A fountain reactive service call is $135 flat rate for travel and labor plus the cost of any parts. And what I'm showing here are 3 preventive maintenance activities that you can perform to help minimize service. And these are just 3. We've got a host of other things that you should be doing to help with service expense. Because of the bread baking in the Subway restaurant and all the yeast that's in the air, the clogged ice bin drains are probably one of the most common service issues. And also the cleaning of the ice bin is one area of opportunity that just isn't getting done. So what you need to do is make sure that on a monthly basis, at the point during the day which you can shut off your ice maker and still continue to serve ice to your consumer, allow the consumer to finish using up the ice in the bin, and then at the end of the shift, unplug the fountain machine, empty the remaining ice out of the bin, and then you want to take warm water and sanitizing solution, a long-handled brush, and scrub out the inside of the ice bin. The remaining sanitizing solution should then be poured very slowly into the bin and allow it to wash over the cold plate and out the drains, and this will help to minimize clogged drain issues in your restaurant. The second thing that you can do is to clean your bag-in-the-box connectors. A dirty connector or clogged connector will typically result in a service call where you're not getting syrup dispensing through the valve, or it could cause the connector in the back to leak. So it's very simple to, on a weekly basis or as you're changing the bag-in-the-box out, just take a cup of warm water and stick the bag-in-the-box connector down into the cup, simply twirl the connector to free up all the caked on syrup, and then just reconnect the bag-in-the-box connector back to the box. And then lastly, and this one's just as important, is cleaning your bottle cooler condenser on a monthly basis. Not cleaning the bottle cooler condenser allows dust and dirt to collect on the refrigeration system, and over time what will happen is it will restrict the flow of air to the refrigeration system and cause the premature failure of the refrigeration system. So you want to make sure that you're doing these 3 things at a minimum, and we've got some other tips that we'll share with you later in the presentation. The cleaning of the condenser is very important today, as you can see by this slide, because the coolers are out of the 3-year parts and labor warranty, as well as most of them are also out of the additional 2-year warranty on the compressor. And as you can see, the refrigeration repairs on the coolers can be very costly. You're looking at a minimum flat rate for travel and labor of $480 plus the cost of any parts used. And when you compare the refrigeration repair, especially to the countertop cooler, the repair is almost as much and sometimes exceeds the cost of a new countertop cooler. So in those situations where you're experiencing refrigeration failures with the countertop coolers, it's our recommendation that you actually replace the cooler. You'll get a new 3-year parts and labor warranty. Service will essentially be free for 3 years as long as a part is used on the service call. And you also want to consider that on the single door coolers as well, because the refrigeration repair is going to be about half the cost of a new single door cooler. And again, you get the 3-year parts and labor warranty once you swap the cooler out. For any reactive service call that's non-refrigeration related, You can expect to pay $164 flat rate for travel and labor plus parts, and that would be things like a broken hinge on your door, a bad thermostat, that type of call. Water filtration. Having good water is critical to dispensing a quality beverage. And because water is probably the single largest ingredient on most of your beverages, it's really critical that you are changing out your water filters on the recommended frequency. Ice consists of 100% water. Your fountain drinks are made up of 83% water. Tea is 99% water, and coffee is 98% water. So you can see that it's very important to make sure that you have good water quality. Your water filters require an annual change out. There are some geographies where you may have to change it out more frequently because of the water quality in that area, but typically once a year is sufficient. The water filters will eliminate any chlorine taste or odor in the water, as well as reduce sediment that may be in the water that could actually harm your equipment and cause premature failure of the equipment. You have two options for replacing your water filters. There's a self-change option where you would go out to the University of Subway, take a course on changing your water filters, and once you pass that course, you're automatically enrolled in the auto shipment program. And then there's the Coke Managed program where a Coca-Cola service technician will actually come into your restaurant, change out the filters, but in addition to changing out the filters, we also are responsible for performing a preventive maintenance call where we would check your CO2 pressures, vent your carbonator, check the ratio on the fountain equipment, etc. You know, franchisees really have to balance. I know that there's a real need to try to reduce service expense as much as possible. But what we've seen where franchisees have migrated to the self-change program, when we did quality audits this past year, we actually segregated the audits into locations that were part of the auto ship program and locations that participated in the self-change program. And if you remember, I talked about the quality index score earlier, which tells us the probability that you're going to sell a quality beverage to your consumer. For the managed program, the average quality index score was around 59, and for the auto ship program, it was around 43.66. So a significant difference. So if you are changing out your own filters, it's important that you at least every 6 months or at a minimum once a year, have Coke come into your restaurant so that we can go through the various quality checks to make sure you're selling a quality beverage. That's truly where you make your profits on selling beverages, not saving on service expense. We've created a lot of tools, and as you remember I stated earlier, one of the biggest opportunities in Subway today is store-level execution in the restaurant. So while we do a lot of great training to help franchisees minimize expense, perform the necessary sanitation activities, unfortunately many times these activities don't get done on the recommended frequency. So we've created some sanitation logs which will allow you to track and inspect that those activities are being completed. As you can see on this example for the fountain dispenser, it also shows some of the cleaning brushes that are available through the small parts program. There's a lower valve body brush used to clean the underside of the valve body where the nozzle and diffuser attaches. There's an ice chute cleaning brush as well as a nozzle brush for cleaning your nozzles and diffusers. And again, all of these are free through the small parts program. And these logs are available upon request for you to track these activities in the restaurant. There's also a similar log, which many of you have probably already seen, which is the brewed beverage and cleaning log that's available out on Subway Partners, as well as some of the common brushes that you should have in the restaurant to clean the fuse equipment. The brush for cleaning the fuse faucet and the shank on the urn, as well as the larger brush that will help you clean the urn itself, and then the spray head cleaning tool, which is used for cleaning the spray head on the bun brewer. As I stated, we've worked with Franchise World Headquarters over the years to really develop a lot of job aids and training modules to educate franchisees on effective beverage marketing techniques, the importance of preventive maintenance and cleaning of the equipment. And all of these preventive maintenance techniques and job aids will help you minimize food safety risk to help protect your brand. The job aids that you see here, we actually walk you through the daily, weekly, monthly cleaning routines you need to be performing in the restaurant. There's a series of troubleshooting steps on the back of one of the job aids that help you with some of the most common service issues in the restaurant. They typically walk you through the diagnosis and get you back up and running without having to call in a service call. Most of the restaurants were provided with the daily, weekly, monthly job aids. When you convert it to Coca-Cola products, they should be hanging on the bag-in-the-box rack in your restaurant in the back. But if for whatever reason you don't have them, you can call the 1-800-241-COKE number, and they will ship these out to you free of charge through the Small Parts program. We have training modules out on the University of Subway. The beverage marketing module talks about effective ways to promote and sell beverages in your restaurant. We have cleaning the beverage station that will walk you through all the steps that you need to understand to properly clean and sanitize your equipment, as well as a fuse brewing and cleaning module that walks you through the correct way to brew and clean your tea brewing equipment. So hopefully most of you are aware of the Coca-Cola Small Parts program, which is a program that is offered to Subway franchisees where Coca-Cola will provide you free of charge any part that has a price of $15 or less. And you can just see a small sampling of the things that are available to you today. All of the cleaning brushes that I've talked about so far. You'll see the brush at the top of the slide here with the blue bristles is used to clean the condenser on your bottle beverage cooler. We have nozzles, diffusers, valve IDs to help you properly merchandise your Coca-Cola products on your fountain equipment. So just anything you could possibly want less than $15 is free of charge. There's really no reason at all why a franchisee does not have a spare set of nozzles and diffusers in your restaurant. And we really hate to see when you have a location that calls us to come out and replace nozzles and diffusers on the equipment because you've just spent $135 for that service call plus the cost of the parts. So make sure that your restaurant personnel is educated on the Small Parts program. If you're not sure what qualifies as part of the Small Parts program, you can call 1-800-241-COKE, speak with a senior technical advisor, and they can answer your question. As far as the few small parts, those are not provided through Coca-Cola. You would actually go out to www.3wire.com/IPC, and all of those parts are available for purchase through that website. But again, all your faucet parts, your cleaning brushes, etc., you can get through that site. Okay, the next slide is some pictures of things that we found in the restaurant, Subway restaurants, that we really don't like to see. And the first one is a bun brewer with no urns out to sell any tea. And typically this is before 11 o'clock. So breakfast is really an opportune time to have tea available to sell to your customer. We've also seen fused tea urns up on the top of storage racks in the back of the restaurant, so they're clearly not being used, along with urns that either don't have covers or saran wrap over the top, which can be very unsanitary for the customer. You want to make sure that you have the optimal cup set available in your restaurant of 21, 30, and 40-ounce cups, and display the 40-ounce cup on your menu panel. In addition, we've seen mold in tea, and that's typically an indication of an unsanitary or dirty tea urn. And then lastly, bottled beverage coolers that are not properly stocked, empty, and possibly could use BevTrack shelving, which effectively merchandises bottles in your cooler. There are market-specific planograms that are available out on Subway Partners, and these planograms, you can go out there and simply download them, but they will show you how to effectively stock and market bottled beverages in your cooler in your specific market. The next thing I want to talk about is the impact that aging equipment has on drink incidents. I know that I've presented many times at owners' meetings as well as my sales counterparts on aging equipment in the market, and you can see by this slide, if you just look at the numbers, the yellow bars represent equipment that is greater than 8 years old, and the green bars represent equipment that is less than 8 years old. And as you can see, more than half the Subway system currently has equipment that's aging and greater than 8 years old. And so many franchisees, when we presented this equipment age information, the one question, you know, when we start talking about the impact that aging equipment has on beverage quality and ultimately drink incidents, is what is the return on investment? So we were actually able to get information from Franchise World headquarters around beverage incidents for all stores. And as you can see here, the older equipment had an average drink incidence of 47.7%. Equipment less than 8 years old had an average drink incidence of 52.6%. And as Barry spoke to earlier, 1 point beverage incidence is worth an incremental profit of $854. And you can achieve that 1 point of beverage incidence by simply selling 2 more beverages a day. So the return on investment for new equipment can be less than 2 years with just a 2-point incidence increase. And to put it into more of a perspective, for those locations with equipment less than 8 years old, they had an average beverage incidence that was 4.9% higher than equipment greater than 8 years old, and that represents close to $4,200 in incremental profit annually per store. This does not take into account any incremental funding the franchisee may be paid because of selling more beverages. So I wanted to end my portion with a quote from Fred DeLuca because I believe it's very fitting in the context of this presentation. And this was actually an interview that he had with QSR Magazine back in August of 2010. But he talks about how fueling demand is important, but so are the quality and consistency of stores' efforts to satisfy it. And when you've got a chain that says large and heavily franchised as Subway is, then the challenge of being consistent is even greater. So if Subway's goal is to be the #1 QSR and grow sales and profits, then there's really got to be a focus on the customer experience. And that experience includes not only the Subway sandwich, but it also includes the beverage that goes along with that sandwich to create the optimal experience that will keep your consumer coming back.
So thank you, Carol. That was some really good information on how beverage quality can impact your profits. So when the slides you're looking at now really takes us back to the beginning of our dialogue and our discussion. Again, some really strong activities going on with all of the families at Subway, with FWH, with NAASF, with IPC, with FAF. And again, what can you do inside the 4 walls of your restaurant? So if I'm looking at this sheet and I'm thinking about my restaurants, and for example, this morning I go into Subway and I have breakfast, I start to look at this sheet and say, do I think that this store is executing against these top 10 things on the checklist that's going to drive sales and profits? Because in the end, we're very eager to work with you guys to figure out how can we put that $854 per point into your pocket every day in your stores. So on the list, we have our fountain drinks, your bottle cooler, is your Fuse and your coffee. Is it ready for the breakfast consumers? Again, you guys are really getting into some stronger beverage traffic. at breakfast. So we know that breakfast consumers want a soft drink as well as iced tea, particularly in the South. Want to make sure that that's brewed and ready to go. Does your crew suggestively sell fresh value meals? So if your crew asks for a fresh value meal or chips in a drink and the consumer says no, don't stop there. Ask, will it be a fountain or a bottle? Will it be a large or be a medium? Ask them to upsell. Ask your crew or require them to take the beverage marketing module on the University of Subway. There are lots of strong courses out on the University of Subway, and we really encourage the crew to take a look at those and to for you to incentive them to take them. Position the 21, 30, and 40 ounce optimal cup set at the register. Again, based on some recent insights and some recent studies that we've done, one of the biggest things that impacted beverage incidents or revenue generating beverages was courtesy cups at the register. Make sure that you're not placing those courtesy cups at the register and sending a signal to your consumers to just get water. Is your beverage or fresh value meal pricing in line with FWH recommendations? Do you have bev tracks in your bottle cooler? So again, this morning I'm into the store looking at the store when I'm eating breakfast, and I noticed they don't have bev tracks. Inside the store I see bottled beverages falling on top of themselves inside the cooler, so the recommendation would be talk to the franchisee, talk to the owner about the bev track, because it really makes the bottles line up nicely, keeps inventory up and clean in stock, and sends a clear message to the consumer that you're in the bottled beverage business. Is the store utilizing the market planograms? You can go onto Subway Partners. You can log in your market name, your market number. It will give you a planogram that has been drawn out for a countertop cooler, a single door cooler, and a double door cooler. Offer Coke Zero on the fountain. We've seen phenomenal success with Coke Zero on the fountain. As you guys know, we're now into the Battleship promotion. You should be seeing a lot of excitement and a lot of consumers coming in and asking for Coke Zero. Try fresh brewed raspberry tea that's now out there for franchisees to try. And most recently, Vitamin Water Zero has been approved for the whole system, so we encourage you to place Vitamin Water Zero into your store as well. And are you igniting all of your catering opportunities? So are you looking at platters, giant subs, box lunches with bottles? Are you looking at the opportunities around your stores with schools, with businesses, with malls, with any other businesses out there? I encourage you to take a strong look at that. And exactly what Carol talked about earlier, are your beverage counter, your equipment, your tea urns, are they clean daily? Are you following the daily, weekly, and monthly guidelines that we proposed? And last but certainly not least, we encourage you to reach out to your national sales executive. This is what we're here to do with you guys. We absolutely value your business. We love working with you day in, day out, whether it be one-on-one, whether it be a DA meeting or FAF meeting. Again, we encourage you to reach out to us anytime you have any questions or any ideas that you want to help you guys grow sales and profits. So that concludes our presentation for today. Again, on behalf of all of our team, we sincerely thank you for your business. We appreciate being your beverage partner and encourage you to contact us anytime. So, Ilya, now I guess we can open up the questions.
Sure, and I think we have a question from Larry McLavish.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Let me see if I can get to the question and I can read it to you. Okay. He's asking if the parts, if the free parts were available in Canada as well.
I don't know for sure relative to Canada, so we can certainly take that back and confirm. So we will provide an answer back to Larry on that.
Okay, super. Are there any other questions? You can either type a question into the question box or the chat box, either or, and or just click the hand icon and raise your hand and I will unmute you. We'll just give that a minute.
Again, real quickly, I just want to say thanks again. There's a lot of information inside this deck that we talked about today, and there'll be a lot more information that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. I referenced earlier that we had just done a body of work at the end of last year around beverage incidents. We spent a lot of time in a lot of stores and a lot of markets and came away with some really keen observations and insights around beverage incidents. So as franchisees make their way into DA meetings and PAF meetings, you'll begin to see our team start talking more and more about beverage incidents, and particularly what's going on with Subway. And what are the barriers and what are the drivers to beverage incidents inside Subway. So be on the lookout for that. You'll start to hear that more as you go to meetings between now and convention, and you'll certainly hear a lot more of that at convention in July.
And somebody's asking if this presentation will be available to train managers.
Yes. And also, if there is a large demand for a particular market, we can certainly, at an owner's meeting, work with the development agent to come in and host a live presentation with, either the owners or managers at one of those meetings. We do that all the time, and I'm more than willing to do that.
Yeah, we do. We actually, and Carol does a very nice job on this, and we work with a lot of DAs in setting it up live on location inside of an actual Subway. So it's very hands-on. So we've worked with a couple of sets here. We've worked with the DA's field staff, so they're field consultants, and actually trying to create them as a beverage ambassador for us. And then we've also done training sessions hands-on with MUOs within the market as well. So we've done it several different ways, and if there's a particular need that a particular MUO or DA or market wants catered to address a certain opportunity, we certainly have the resources to do that, and are glad to come out and do that with you.
And our goal is to really flesh out, a beverage ambassador for inside the four walls and really get that person up to speed on being the beverage expert with a focus on beverages. So, we're available to support that as needed.
Super. We had one more question from Carlos, and I can unmute if we need more clarification, why the Subway ratio is 5-to-1 and most of QSRs are 4-to-1.
That is a Subway requirement.
Carlos, are you there? Okay, we might have an audio issue there, but
so that's a Subway requirement, Carlos.
Okay, somebody's asking if there is a cleaner for the tea urn. They have a hard time with staining. And then also, what do we do when you live in a state with hot weather and when customers walk out of the door, the product is not as good as it was inside the store?
In answer to the first question, what we found, you should be using the Subway approved sanitizer. And if you're not cleaning the urns on the daily recommended frequency, that's typically when the staining starts to occur. And once it does occur, it's very difficult to remove with that sanitizer. But right now, the only approved cleaner for the urns would be the Subway sanitizer. It's the frequency with which you do it that needs to be, I believe the recommendation is after every brew and at a minimum daily.
Well, and that's a good question. And one of the tips that we teach the field consultants and MUO, and we've done training, for those of you on the line that haven't seen this, that obviously you can't be in your store every morning when they go in to set up and do the initial setup in the morning. But one of the things you can do while you're inside the store is simply unwrap a straw and push it up into the nozzle of the tea urn. And if you see residue on the end of that straw, you'll know right away that your staff at night or in the morning is not doing the necessary cleaning procedure on the tea urns, which in very short order will cause an off taste with the tea. So you need to, again, put someone in charge of making that happen and checking that out.
Okay, one more question. I've got Coke Manage Program Quality Check. So when they change the water filters, you said they should check the CO2.
Yes, so our commitment is to perform a preventive maintenance call. So typically the activities that we perform on that call, and I've got a very detailed job aid that also includes this as well, but at a minimum we should be coming in and venting the carbonator, which purges air from the carbonator tank to help improve carbonation levels. We should be checking the CO2 pressures for both your regulator that controls CO2 to the carbonator as well as to the bag-in-the-box pumps. We should be ratioing the dispenser if it's been greater than 90 days since the last time the dispenser was ratioed. And you can find under the Coke valve on your fountain machine, so the Coke Classic valve, there is a sticker. It's our quality service called decal that shows the last time the dispenser was ratioed, the technician's initials, and then the date that it was ratioed. In addition, they should be checking the age on the bag in the box. They should also be cleaning any nozzles, diffusers, and replacing those as needed. And we've really got a renewed focus on the whole quality service call protocol. So in addition to the managed water filtration program, when we come out to perform a reactive service call in your restaurant, the technician should also be performing this quality service call protocol as well as part of that reactive call.
Okay. New question. Would there be a kit available for a daily routine by a selected team member or ambassador?
We're in the process of putting that concept together.
That's a great question.
Yeah, and there's also the job aid that should be hanging on the bag in the box rack. It tells you right now, that's the current aid that we have. It tells you what to do daily, weekly, and monthly.
And so all of those small parts that they would need are available today through the small parts program as individual items. They're just not in the form of a kit today.
But that's a great idea to have
Yes.
a beverage ambassador kit.
And in fact, I'm writing that down as we speak.
Thank you for the feedback, whoever asked that.
We can also post that to the NAASF site. Make that available that way as well. Great. I don't see any other questions. Let me just double check the hands. One quick second.
Well, if that's all the questions for us, again, I just want to say thank you to everyone out there and thank you to the Subway system. We truly appreciate and value the partnership that we have with you guys, and we very much look forward to growing your business with you and ask that you reach out to us at any time.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Barry and Carol, and thanks for participating. To all of our attendees. Watch for details on our next NAASF webinar, which will be in May, and that's going to be on energy management in deregulated states. Thanks for your time. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.